Hi, my name is Matt. I'm the Teen Librarian at the Kinderhook Memorial Library, and thank you for joining me in my first book chat. Each chat in this series, we're going to focus on a genre of book that we have in our YA collection at the library. These are all books that I have read before, so consider it an official recommendation. I wouldn't be talking about them if I didn't enjoy them. So if your interest is piqued by anything, feel free to request these books online through our catalog at www.kinderhooklibrary.org, and we will pull them aside for you and you can read them yourself. The first genre of book we're going to be focusing on are mystery titles. So the first mystery book we're going to be talking about is called One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. It's actually a pretty popular one, so you may have read it before. If you have, definitely leave your comments below and let us know what you think of it. It's been described as The Breakfast Club meets Pretty Little Liars, and I think that's a pretty accurate description. The story follows 5 kids who end up in detention together, who seemingly have nothing in common, and they're all thrown into the plot of the story when one of them is murdered mysteriously. Everybody's a suspect, and you don't really know what happens until the very end, which, you know, like a good mystery, you shouldn't. It's actually full of twists and turns, so you could be thinking one thing for a chapter and then totally change your perspective as it goes on. That's one of the really nice things about this one that I really enjoy, is the not knowing and the excitement as it builds up as you go on. It's really unique for a mystery because it has multiple perspectives, so all of the kids involved share their side of the story, and you're not entirely sure who is telling the truth and who is lying. In fact, one of them is lying. I know, it makes perfect sense now. I highly recommend it, and it actually has a sequel that just got released earlier this year. One of Us is Next. So if you enjoy One of Us is Lying, definitely check out the sequel. I have not read it yet, but I have heard really good things about it. It's also a good idea to read this one because I just found out they are looking at making a TV series based on it. So if you want to get ahead of the TV series, which I'm sure will add their own unique perspective and twists, definitely check out One of Us is Lying, again, by Karen M. McManus. The next book on our list of mysteries is A Study in Charlotte by Brittany Cavallaro. I was personally a little hesitant about this one when I first picked it up. It's sort of a retelling, not really a retelling, but it's derived from the original Sherlock Holmes stories. It tells the story of Charlotte Holmes and Jamie Watson, who end up in a prep school in Connecticut together and end up stumbling upon their own mysteries. It's really a unique perspective on their relationship. There are some similarities between Charlotte Holmes and Sherlock Holmes, obviously, and Jamie Watson and Dr. Watson from the original novels. And it's very interesting to see how the author sort of plays into those expectations. In A Study in Charlotte, which is the first of, I believe, 3 that are out now, somebody is committing murders that are reminiscent of Sherlock Holmes's, or Arthur Conan Doyle's stories that Sherlock Holmes follows in. So Jamie has to use his knowledge of the stories to try to figure out who is committing these murders, and while also dealing with Charlotte, who, while being a genius, a la Sherlock Holmes, it also has many, a lot of issues that she's also contending with, like Sherlock Holmes. Like I said, I'm not normally one for derived works like this or retellings, but this is really well done. I highly recommend it, and again, has a couple of sequels, at least one that I know of, if you're interested. 3 Truths and a Lie by Beth Hardinger is a fantastic, quick read. If you're like me and you're kind of a slow reader, this one you can probably take care of in an afternoon or a weekend. It'll stick with you because it's really sort of a mind trip. It's really interesting. It tells a story about Rob and his boyfriend and 2 of their friends who go on a trip to a cabin in the woods, which, as you know, if you're a mystery fan, cabins in woods are a great opportunity for murders to happen, and murders do happen. And it's up to you to try to figure out who's committing these murders, why, what's going on. It's another one that's full of twists and turns, so what you think is not necessarily what you get in the end. No spoilers for me, but I highly recommend it if you're looking for something to really just sort of sort of twist your expectations. It's not, I wouldn't necessarily call it a horror mystery, but there are definitely a lot of scary elements. Being in a cabin in the woods sort of lends itself to that. Now, if Three Truths and a Lie was sort of a horror mystery, I Hunt Killers is a definite horror mystery. It tells the story of a young man named Jazz, whose father is actually a notorious serial killer. I believe they said that he has one of the highest body count of all serial killers and is in prison for many life sentences for that. The horror element comes from the fact that Jazz was usually privy to these murders and was trained in the art of serial killing, as it were. So when a copycat killer starts committing his father's crimes again in their town, obviously Jazz is one of the prime suspects. It's up to him to sort of clear his name by solving his father's murders using what he knows of murder. It's definitely gory. It's not for the faint of heart necessarily, but it's a really interesting story about a teen just trying to shed the demons of his past and try to move on from that when society and the town really won't let him, and he won't really let himself either because he has a lot of hang-ups, obviously, about his dad and his family dynamics. Definitely a good recommendation. Again, the first in a series, so if you like Jazz and you like the story, there's more to check out. I haven't read the rest of the series, but so again, if you have, let me know what you think. The last book we're going to talk about today is I Am Princess X by Cherry Priest. One of the things I really like about this one is its focus on comics, and specifically web comics. We actually get some pages of graphic novels, comics in here, so it sort of breaks up the prose text with a story within a story. Princess X is a character created by two friends, May and Libby, who sort of got shelved after Libby dies in a car accident, seemingly. After that event, May sort of forgets about Princess X, sort of shelves her so that she doesn't have to deal with the tragedy of losing her friend, until one day she notices a Princess X sticker stuck on, I believe, somebody's car or a lamppost, something like that. She learns that the Princess X webcomic has continued on and has actually evolved, and that maybe her friend Libby isn't as dead as she had seemed. So May goes on almost like she goes on an adventure to try to figure out what happened to her friend, if her friend's still alive, where she is, who's holding her, if that's the case. She starts with very little information, and you go along for the ride as you're reading, as she sort of pieces this mystery together, which I really enjoy. It seems very realistic. May is a very relatable character, I feel, in that she's just a normal person who's trying to find her friend. She doesn't have, she's not extremely intelligent, or she doesn't have access to crazy technology. She's just very determined. That's all she has for her. And I'm not going to tell you how it ends, but it's a very satisfying conclusion that I think you'll all enjoy. So that's it for my book talk today. Join us next time. We'll go over some other genre. If you have any other genres that you're interested in hearing about, let me know in the comments below, and I'll do my best to accommodate you. As I mentioned, any of these books are available through the Mid-Hudson Library System. You can do that through our library's website, kinderhooklibrary.org. Here's a list of other mystery novels that we have in our collection that I have not had a chance to read, but if you would like to check them out anyway, and let us know what you think, you can always leave your own recommendations for me or for anybody else who happens to be watching. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.